Next Lev, the power of emotional detachment, a Stoic path to inner peace. Life constantly reminds us of the undeniable truth that people come and go. We build deep connections, form bonds, and often anchor our emotions to others. But what happens when those bonds break? How do we deal with the overwhelming emotional weight when someone no longer plays a role in our lives, or when we realize they never truly invested in us the way we did in them? How do we stop caring or detach emotionally without losing a piece of ourselves? This is where Stoicism, particularly the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, offers us guidance. The Stoics were masters of understanding human emotions, not by avoiding them, but by learning how to balance their impact on our lives. Emotional detachment is not about becoming cold or indifferent, but about reclaiming the power to act with clarity, calm, and inner peace. In this article, I'll guide you through 5 timeless Stoic rules for emotionally detaching from someone, using the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius as our beacon. This is not just theory, it's practical advice that will reshape the way you engage with yourself and others. Rule 1. Embrace the impermanence of life. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. When it comes to emotional attachments, we often cling to our personal perspective of someone, an idealized narrative we create about their importance in our lives. But the truth is, all relationships are transient. One moment you're close, and the next they're gone, whether through distance, death, or the slow fading of intimacy. People leave, and life moves on. At first, this realization may seem bleak, but it's the Stoics' first rule of detachment: embrace impermanence. When you understand that no connection is permanent, you start living more consciously in the present moment. It's like holding a handful of sand at the beach. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. This is a natural law of life. The more we try to possess something or someone, the faster they fade. I once had a friendship that spanned over 10 years. We shared dreams, fears, and countless late-night conversations. Yet over time, things changed. As much as I resisted, the distance between us grew, and I realized that my emotional investment had become a chain to someone who no longer reciprocated the same connection. It wasn't until I accepted that the friendship had run its course that I could release that emotional weight. Marcus Aurelius would have advised the same. Things will end, and when they do, you will suffer less. Rule 2. Master your emotions through rational thought. Many people believe that emotions control us. We feel pain, sadness, or anger, and we think we have no choice but to let those emotions take over. But here's the hard truth. Emotions are not reality. They are the product of our thoughts, beliefs, and interpretations of events. Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics taught that we are not at the mercy of our emotions. Our emotions are at the mercy of our thoughts. Emotional detachment starts with realizing that your mind can govern your emotional state. Your thoughts about someone can ignite a storm of feelings, or they can calm that same storm. For example, imagine you're going through a breakup. Your mind replays conversations, overanalyzes every detail, and asks, "Why did this happen? How could they move on so easily?" The Stoic response is to shift your focus. Instead of letting your emotions control you, ask, "What are the facts? How can I view this differently?" You must choose thoughts that free you from emotional suffering, not thoughts that fuel it. Consider this. When something happens, an argument, a feeling of being ignored, or a sense of disappointment, what's the first thing you do? You interpret the situation and give it meaning. But it's not the event itself that causes emotional turmoil. It's how you perceive it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Imagine texting someone you care about, and hours pass with no response. Your mind begins to spiral. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset with me? You interpret their silence as rejection or indifference, but what's the truth of the situation? Is it the delay in their response that's causing emotional turmoil, or is it your interpretation of their silence? The Stoic response is to challenge your automatic emotional reactions with rational thought. Instead of assuming, focus on what you know. In my own life, I once spiraled into worry when a friend stopped responding. Hours passed, and I convinced myself the friendship was falling apart. But when I reached out the next day, I realized nothing had happened. They had simply gotten busy. By focusing on what was within my control, my thoughts and actions, I was able to release the emotional weight I had placed on myself. Rule 3. Practice negative visualization. At first glance, negative visualization may seem like a strange or even counterproductive practice. Why would anyone want to deliberately imagine losing something or someone they care about? Doesn't that just add unnecessary stress? The truth is, this Stoic exercise is one of the most powerful tools for emotional detachment. Not by hardening your heart, but by preparing your mind for life's inevitable losses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not disturb yourself by imagining the whole of your life's troubles at once. Rather, as each arises, meet it with calmness and self-control." Negative visualization helps you build resilience by imagining the worst-case scenario in advance, thus lessening its emotional impact when or if it happens. This doesn't mean becoming fatalistic or pessimistic. It means accepting reality as it is, rather than how you wish it would be. Imagine a person you're deeply attached to, whether a partner, a friend, or a family member. Now visualize your life without them. How does that feel? Uncomfortable? Painful? That's the point. The Stoics believed that by facing the emotional discomfort of loss in your mind, you lessen its power to devastate you when it actually happens. I once practiced this when my best friend was considering moving overseas. Rather than avoiding the fear of losing them, I embraced it. I imagined life without them, pictured myself finding joy in new activities, and by the time they left, I wasn't blindsided by grief. The loss still stung, but I had already mentally prepared for it. Rule 4. Focus on what you can control. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the realization that there are things within our control and things outside our control. This distinction is crucial when it comes to emotionally detaching from someone. Why? Because much of the pain we feel in relationships stems from our desire to control things that we simply can't. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly emphasized the need to focus only on what is within our control. Our thoughts, actions, and responses. Everything else, other people's behavior, the outcomes of situations, the passing of time, is outside our control. The more you try to control what's outside your influence, the more you will suffer. Emotional detachment isn't about coldly distancing yourself from others. It's about letting go of your attachment to outcomes. You cannot control when someone will love you, care for you, or treat you the way you deserve. The only thing you can control is how you respond to their actions. Reflect on a time when you tried to control someone's behavior. Whether you tried to win someone's affection or prove your worth to a friend who never truly valued you. How did that feel? Likely it left you frustrated, anxious, and powerless. In my own experience, I was once in a relationship where I constantly tried to keep things together. Despite my efforts, it felt like I was always a step behind. When I embraced the Stoic principle of focusing only on what I could control, my own actions, I let go of the anxiety that consumed me. I couldn't control how they felt, but I could control how I responded. And in that moment, I chose to detach, finding immense relief in letting go of that emotional burden. Rule 5. Reflect on the bigger picture. When you're caught up in the emotions of a relationship or a difficult situation, it's easy to lose perspective. Stoic philosophy, especially through the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, encourages us to step back and reflect on the grander scheme of things. Aurelius often reminded us that our troubles, fears, and desires are mere fleeting moments in the vastness of time. By adopting a broader viewpoint, emotional detachment becomes easier. Ask yourself, will this pain matter in 5 years? Does this person truly define my entire existence? Shifting your focus from immediate emotional turmoil to a higher level of reflection helps you realize, that much of your distress is tied to temporary circumstances. Stoicism teaches that no single person or event should hold such power over your well-being. When you step back and see the bigger picture, you understand that life is ever-changing, and that relationships, no matter how intense, are just one chapter in your journey. I remember a time when I went through a painful breakup that felt like the end of my world. For weeks I fixated on the past, feeling like the future had lost its brightness. But with time I allowed myself to reflect on the bigger picture, and realized that while this person was important, they weren't the defining moment of my life. By zooming out, I saw the relationship as just one chapter in a much larger narrative. This perspective helped me emotionally detach and move forward. Conclusion: emotional detachment is liberation. Emotional detachment is not about apathy. It's about understanding that life is far greater than any single person, relationship, or moment of pain. By embracing impermanence, mastering your emotions through rational thought, practicing negative visualization, focusing on what you can control, and reflecting on the bigger picture, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. This is not a path of indifference, but one of liberation, a path toward inner peace and emotional resilience. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The key to emotional detachment is not about hardening your heart, but about freeing yourself from the emotional weights that prevent you from living fully. Thank you for watching. Remember, true strength lies in mastering your emotions and focusing on what you can control. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us on this journey of Stoic wisdom. See you in the next one.